Thanks for checking out this movie review video. This is for the 2022 film Allegoria. It's a Shudder exclusive and it's coming to Shudder on Monday, August 1st. So when I'm putting this review out, it is before that, so this is a no spoiler review, and it's just a few days before it's coming out. So I would actually tell people to watch this one. When I first saw on the roster list of what's coming to Shudder for August, and I saw Allegoria and I read it and it said by Spider One, who was the front man of Power Man 5000, the band, and is Rob Zombie's brother, if anyone doesn't know. I was kind of like, oh no. I started getting flashbacks to the film Veronica by Glenn Danzig. But I will tell you, Spider One should talk to Glenn Danzig and kind of, show him how to make a film, or just tell him to stop. Uh, actually, I'd be more in the category of just tell him to stop because Spider One actually knows what he's doing. I was pleasantly surprised. This isn't like an amazing film. I'm not like super highly recommending it, like being like, oh my God, this is a must see. But I enjoyed it. And I feel like that says a lot, especially with going into it and kind of being like, oh no, here we go. Another person from another realm of creativity trying to do film, and they may not be able to, but I would be interested in more Spider One stuff, to be honest. So let's talk about it. Like I said, directed and written by Spider One of Power Man 5000, which, by the way, when I'm done with this review, I'm going to listen to some Power Man 5000 because I bought the first Power Man 5000 album when it originally came out. I was a fan. I was down. Anyway, again, coming Monday, August 1st, Shudder exclusive. So the definition of Allegoria, basically Allegoria is the Italian version of the word allegory. So let me give you the definition. A story, poem, or picture in which the events and characters represent different qualities or ideas. And that is what's going on here. Literally, it's an anthology film of very short stories that are horror related, and they all tie into creativity in a certain way. They're all kind of based around artists, but I'll tell you the specific artists and comment briefly on each of the shorts at the very end, and then tell you what I like about how it kind of all comes together. But let's get into it. This isn't a perfect film, and you will recognize immediately it's a very low budget film, potentially almost no budget film is what it kind of seems like. But I think go into it with that in mind, that it's a super low budget film, and understand that there's definitely fun to be had here. There are issues with audio levels. That's one of the biggest problems I had. They kind of fluctuate too much. At certain points, there were an echo to the audio, and at times characters actually were blowing out the microphone. So that's basically where they get so loud that like it starts to sound fuzzy when they're on the louder end of what they're saying or yelling. So those are some audio issues that I think really need to be worked out for any films to come, because that definitely distracts from the quality of the film overall. There's an opening scene with stage acting that I believe goes too long. I think that should have been cut down a little bit. And that's the thing, like some of the time there are some scenes that feel like they go on a little bit too long. It could have been cut down a little bit more for that reason. But big plus to this film, and good on you, Spider One, for this. The film, with credits and everything, is only an hour and 9 minutes. I have been preaching and preaching and preaching about how we shouldn't be trying to stretch films to fit a certain runtime, so I'm glad that here's someone who's not trying to stretch a film for runtime. So wonderful, love to see it. All about it. There is a pretty interesting twist very early on in the film, and there are a few twists, obviously, because it's, an anthology film, basically, so there's just these little vignettes, and each one has its own kind of twist going on in it. But the beginning, like the earlier twist, was the one that kind of sets you up for what's going to happen and what to kind of expect from the film. At certain times, the dialogue is kind of written in a very kind of like stuffy, philosophical type of way, which is a little bit problematic because people don't really talk that way. So a lot of how the characters sound, it sounds like it's the same person talking. It's tricky. It's super tricky to kind of like write from different voices when you're doing a script. And a lot of the times, like someone who's writing a script, especially when they're not like, a big time script writer who's been severely experienced, it'll feel like every character speaks the same way, and that's kind of what ends up happening with this film. It doesn't detract too much, but it is something that's noticed. And like I said, there's kind of like this stuffy philosophical talk at many points in it that people are just kind of like, it sounds like it's trying to be too smart. And it also sounds like it's potentially talking down to the audience. And then it also just doesn't sound realistic for how people talk. But doesn't detract too much, like I said. The music is solid, but there are times where it gets cranked up way too high. They go very heavy-handed at certain points. I'm not a fan of this. I like more restrained scores to films. The composition of the music is good. I did enjoy that. I think it fits the situations well, but cranking it to 11 does not help a lot, especially when you're already having audio issues of it fluctuating too much. Because there's already a disparity at certain points in the film of like one character talking versus another character talking, and then you throw another level of the music being way too loud, so you're hitting like a ton of levels in scenes that just is very. It feels all over the place. It's very confusing. It's not pleasing for the audience. There is some cool, subtle creature design in this that I think really works. For that reason, you can tell it is a very low budget film, but I think with being low budget, I think they did a really good job, even though it's simplistic and it's restrained. It works. It really does work. Pretty solid acting. There was good acting in this. I didn't see a single performance that I was just like, that's bad or that's not so great, but good acting. So that's a big plus. Because with a lot of lower budget films, you get questionable acting a lot of the times. The specific story about a writer, it becomes kind of funny, which really injects more fun into the film in general. There are these kind of like fun, funny moments that get injected in the film, which I think really help with the pacing of it all and just the overall feel of like you're having a good time, to be honest. And I really like those types of things. As it progresses, it feels like the directing actually really settles in, and you realize that there was a good job done here as far as directing goes. It's not like amazing directing. This isn't like a Brian De Palma type film or anything, but it's also not a Glenn Danzig at all. It's very much in the middle of that and pretty good. Like I said, I would be interested in seeing more stuff by Spider One. I'm very surprised by what this turned out to be. I'm happy with it. There's a fake horror movie in this that some characters are watching, and it's really funny. At least to me, it's really funny. I can see where it could be annoying for some people, but I really had a good chuckle with it, and I kind of want it to become a real film. Now, I'm asking, Spider-One, can you make this a real film? I don't want to say what the title of it is because they give you a title, but it's ridiculous. It's fun. I enjoy it. So, yeah. Hopefully everyone else has fun with it as well. There's something at the very end of the film, well, towards the very end of the film, that ends up tying into the beginning, which is really nice because I did feel like the beginning little story was kind of very abruptly ended. And so I wondered, were they going to kind of circle back in one way or another? And that does end up happening, and it is kind of a cool moment when that does happen, so I like that. The end does go a bit too long. It gets a little bit too drawn out, and the very, very end, it does kind of have a little bit of an feel to it. Like, it doesn't really matter that much. So would have liked a much better ending to it, but like I said, overall, it's still a good film. It's still fun. I still enjoyed myself. There is a post-credit scene, by the way, so stick around for that. I highly recommend watching the post-credit scene. It's fun and funny, and there's something else I could say about it, but I'm not going to. Just watch the post-credit scene. Just do it. So, the actual stories that they have, they're all creatively charged. It's an actor, a painter, a writer, a sculptor, and a musician. So, as you can tell, it's all based off of creativity, in essence. The actor one, I thought was, not the greatest. The painter one, I liked. I thought it was very short, but that was fine. It had a good impact to it. The writer one may have been it's up there as potentially my favorite. That one, I think, more than all the other ones, had a lot of fun and funny stuff injected into it, and I really like the direction they went with it. The Sculptor, I really like that one too. That one's tied for like my favorite. That one's not like fun and funny. Like, well, I mean, it is fun, but it's not funny. But I think it's very much horror driven in a cool way. And then the Musician one, I liked it. I like the idea behind it, but that one is too drawn out in my opinion. So it does suffer a little bit from that, but I still enjoyed it. Now, I kind of view this film as a slight meditation on the demons that artists feel that they have to feed in order to create their art. That was my personal takeaway from it, and interpreting it in that way, it kind of injects more meaning to the film. It's more fun, it's more interesting. And I just like that it's not just a bunch of kind of like disconnected stories in an anthology. I like how they're all grouped together in a way that makes sense, that kind of says something bigger. So I'm a fan of that. Pretty good work. Obviously, there are problems with this film that really kind of turn me off, but there are a lot of really good things about this film as I laid out. So out of 5 stars with half stars in play, I'm giving it a very solid 3-star rating. I would recommend people checking it out, especially because it's, like a low budget horror film, and I think it's important to support these types of films. So check it out. But let me know your thoughts on it. Go ahead and tell me in the comments if you've seen it at this point. We can talk spoilers in the comments. Go ahead. So if you don't want to see spoilers, just comment. Don't read the comments. But I recommend just watching it, then coming back and commenting. And we can get nerdy about it. We can talk about it. So thank you very much. Do me a favor and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. I do appreciate that. That's your best way to repay me. If you enjoy this video or any video I've ever done, it is quick, painless, costs you no money, and I greatly appreciate it. So thank you, thank you. Also hit the notification bell button if you haven't already, because then that way you'll know when I'm putting up new videos, which I'm doing at least for a week at this point, which I think is good output. I'm putting a lot of work in, you guys. So anyway, thanks everyone for checking out this video, and until next time, keep it brutal.